So there's dramatic traders and personalities, and then there's, I guess, calm technical traders who are rational and logical, and the reason why these people are all calling the top. Before I point out what I was just going to show you, let me just go back, right? You see how we maxed out and we've been correcting a little bit? We're really not back that far, like at all, right? But if you go back, I mean, like we hit this top at 110, and then we dumped big time towards the end of June, bounced a little bit, dumped big time. And if you go back, we're talking about like the other time we hit 112, came all the way back down to 103. These are major moves, like astronomically larger than this little correction right now. This one was a 32% drop. When we hit 110K back in January, we then went all the way down, if you remember, back into the low 70s. On some exchanges, we were back into the 60s, but roughly around the low 70s before we started that next run up that took us all the way to 123K. The people right now who are calling the end of the bull market because of this, if anything, this is a bull, this is a bull flag. Like, on what planet are you guys bearish right now? So anyway, I will say there are some bearish models on the higher time frames, right? So like the monthly model, the weekly model, they do suggest we need a much larger correction, but those can easily get invalidated. Like if you look at the weekly, right? Look at my Stoke up here where it gets into this overbought range, right? See how it's above 80 up here, then it crosses, right? So there's the red cross, right? And then we cross back, going back up again. That cross ended up being a significant correction. This time we are about to cross down where it looks like we need a nice correction. But that can still get invalidated based on what happens with the daily. Look at the daily. See how the Stoke is oversold and it's really low and it's about to cross back over? Once it reverses and crosses over, look what happened last time, right? This was back June 21st when that happened last time, and that was right before this last run all the way up from 100K back to 123K. So there's very, very bullish models and some bearish models. But just to point out the people who are just being dramatic and irrational, some of my friends on this platform had very similar analyses to me. But check this out, right? So you see the gray line all the way at the top? This trend line that I had drawn was before this. And it got rejected. Look at all these rejections in a row. And then I had this trend line support down here, the yellow line. See that? Look how many candles bounced off, and it kept holding. Eventually it failed. And then look, we tried to push up again, and we kept getting rejected at that 113, the high 113s, 114s. We got rejected like 15 freaking hourly candles in a row. And then we came down, and now we're holding right at that key 61.8% fib retracement, right around 112K that I've been talking about for weeks and weeks. And we're already at like 6 or 7 candles in a row on the hourly that have bounced right on that trend line support, right on that horizontal support, which is right at that fib retracement. So the technical models are sound. I mean, I can show you. I just back tested and showed you with my Stoke model, like what happens with the Stoke. Look at the hourly, see? Overbought on the hourly. We turned back down, and now we came back up for a little bounce. We still have some room, and eventually we'll turn back down again. But if you look at the 4 hour, stayed low and hasn't actually turned up yet. It's finally bouncing up now. So we have the potential to get back up even as far as this trend line resistance up in the high, 118, 119 area. We could push even higher. I still think we need a larger overall correction before we get a final push up into the higher levels. But I just wanted to give you an indication of how on point these models are. I mean, talk about precision. My technical models have been insanely precise. So I'm calling for a strong support here for a variety of reasons. I think we're going to get a really solid bounce. I may end up, if we get a bearish confirmation on the weekly or the monthly, I might end up selling and moving to cash and waiting for that weekly to correct, because there have been several instances. I'm not going to do it in this quick little screen cap, but if I go back a few months, even separate from the dump in April, there are plenty of instances where the weekly and the monthly models turned down and we got like a 4 to 12 week correction, 1 to 3 months maybe, and after that a massive push up. It happened at 60K and it took us to 90, and then it happened when we were back down at 70, and then it took us to 100, and then we went back down to 80, and then up to 112, and then back down to 72, and then all the way up to 123K. So we're still going to have several more extended corrections that last for weeks or months. We're nowhere remotely close to the top, and we just finally got to the point where we've seen enough of a drop in BTC dominance, so Bitcoin dominance has reduced enough that we're starting to see that golden cross where altcoins have an opportunity to run. So Bitcoin might move sideways and remain flat while it continues that accumulation phase while the altcoins run. So we still could see a 3 or a 4x on a lot of altcoins outside of the top 10 or 15 larger mega caps. So keep an eye out on that stuff. But just as a general rule of thumb, ignore the hysteria, focus on the proven and back-testable technical models like I just showed you here. You cannot argue with results, and what I just showed you is demonstrably provable success in the way I model these things and the models that a lot of us analysts have adopted. And I've been out of the game for a while. I came back and my IchEMA model is still better than 99% of the stuff I see out there, at least other than the stuff assisted by AI, which I might actually be getting into. So stay tuned for announcements on that. Anyway, this bounce right here, just on schedule, just like Bleeding Crypto. My boy Josh Rager, a bunch of other people who I'm friends with have been saying similar stuff about this support at the 61.8% retracement at 112, right where there was that strong horizontal support. A lot of people pointed to that same area as well. So keep an eye on that. Watch this yellow trend line for resistance. If we continue this move up overnight and we can get up to that higher 113, 114 area, see if we get rejected. If we push through that, we're going to go way back up into the high teens. Anyway, trust the technicals, and as long as we don't have some sort of nuclear war imminently coming to fruition, I think we're going to be in great shape in the short term.